I'm showing the data that I've been collecting for a book that I'm writing. The title of the book is How to Erase Rape with the Right and Knowledge to Modify One's Body, either from feminine to masculine or masculine to feminine. Okay. I'll explain that another time why it would lower the rape incident throughout the human population. I've been searching for photos of trans women since 1980, but at university there weren't that many photos, and the photos that I've seen, they were just too blurry. It wasn't the people there, the trans women that were taking hormones not too long, and also, well, it wasn't that much, and it was just like depressing for me. But there was, at university, there were a lot of books on transsexuality, but no photos, just case by case, written by psychiatrists, sometimes written by trans men or trans women themselves. Okay, I started seeing much more positive image of trans women in 2003. From the Japanese and the Chinese, okay, and later on, which 2015 in the Anglo-Saxon world, and especially the Anglo-Saxon world, or the Germanic world, the photos were much better, satisfying from 2015. Okay, okay, and the other reason why that I collect the data is, well, for second is to finish this book. I like to print this book by September. I know how to print the book, set up the book, what format, what size. So that's done. There's two other data I'll be collecting. One is if sexologists and biologists unconsciously or consciously push boys and men to rape women. And thirdly, the third data collecting is the verbal or the written response or messages of trans women in France and partly in Quebec of why they can't take hormones, why they're not taking hormones, if they have hormones, at how long did it took them to have them. Okay, this is going to be these three datas will be placed into the book that I'm writing to advance what the hypothesis or the theory that I'm placing in the book. Okay. Looking at the data. Okay, the data is on the picture of the video itself. Okay, and looking at the data, I could see which trans women are not taking feminizing hormone, which trans women are taking feminizing hormone. You can't get it to change these secondary sex characteristic, not to change the primary sex characteristics, which is the organ, the sex organ, the vagina, the vulva, the uterus, or the penis and the testicles. Okay, those are the primary sex characteristics. And to see, and I separated the data. Actually I've seen about like 2,000 photos of trans women and trans men for the past 10 years. Okay, the book that I've been writing is, I've been writing for about 10 years also, that book. And I've done several versions, several types of printing, several types of book format I didn't like. Also, and the reason why I'm rewriting it now is just to get the data, so to advance what I'm saying. And I've separated the data between passing trans women and non-passing trans women. And just by looking at the data, like I mentioned, is that I know which trans women are taking hormones, which trans women are not taking hormones. Okay, you can't get away from that. You have to take because, for example, the 17 beta. All you need to take for feminizing a boy's or man's body is to take 17 beta estradiol either in nasal spray or skin patches, because I know that the molecules, the estrogen molecule in these two format to as medication or as application are the actual women's natural molecule, okay, which means has the same structure, the same number of atoms, and the same atoms, okay, same structure, okay. And the way it's feminizing a boy's body and a man's body is because of retroinhibition of the brain. 17 beta estradiol or 17 alpha estradiol are actually the end result, the active hormones. And also dihydrotestosterone is the active hormones of the sex hormones of progesterone and testosterone. If you have a lot of these, especially 17 the estradiol, by retroinhibition, it gets to the pituitary gland or the neuropituitary gland, and it tells the brain we have too much of the active sex hormones, stop producing either progesterone or testosterone, depending which sex you are, okay? So when 17 beta estradiol lowers by 19% on average at the first year, as you take either nasal spray or patches or skin patches of 17 beta estradiol as the year goes by, the 19% goes up to it lowers down testosterone maybe to 50, 75%. That is enough to feminize a man's body. Plus the 17 beta estradiol will feminize your skin and will feminize your skeleton, okay? Depending of the age you are. And also, well, at every age. Preferably if a boy who wants to become a woman, wants to grow up as a woman, it would be preferably to take on nasal spray or skin patches of 17 beta estradiol from 10 years old and up, because there's no puberty. Male puberty starts at 11. That might hamper the uptake of the nasal spray or the skin patches. Okay. So, and the countries the number of photos for this data I collected, I took randomly, collected randomly 385 photos of trans women from various countries, from Asia, Africa, or North America. Okay, but the ones that I separated are the block Canada, United States, France-Québec, Spain, Latin America, Germany, and Sweden for the Germanic language country, and also Japan, East Asia. East Asia includes Vietnam, Thailand, China, the Koreas, and probably Laos and Cambodia. Okay. And just by looking at that, I know, okay, so with that data, I know who's taking hormones, who's not taking hormones, okay? When I check for passing trans women, I look at the skin, which that includes a full set of hair, no facial hair, a very good fat third layer. The third layer of the skin is the actually the feminine fat, okay, throughout the body. You could tell the skin is much more hydrated here and much more smoother, okay, because the epiderm is much thinner because of the fat. The third fat layer is much thicker, and also the derm stays the same as men and women, as I can see. But the epiderm is definitely thinner in women. Okay, and The other one is to see if the trans woman has wide hips, not just a fat deposit. I'm talking about the bone structure. The hip bones are widened. Scientists recently, okay, and I checked with the photos that I got, is to see if the hip bones are wide, and scientists has specified that the hip bones is malleable for men and women. Okay, that means if a man or boy takes 17 beta estradiol, his hips will widen to the women's dimension or form. Okay. The reason why, there's two reasons why the hips will widen is by the cortex, a change of the cortex of the bone structures. Okay, meaning that especially the pubic ring. Okay, the pubic ring. There's the pubic symphysis at the center between the two, at the front center of the two pubic bone. Okay. There's a cartilage, a Yasin cartilage in the middle. Okay, that could grow, that could widen the opening of the pubic opening, and by 99%, over 99%, there's maybe about like 0.5% of men who don't have their pubic symphysis completely solidify. Okay, if that solidifies, it's extremely hard for the hip bones to look like a woman. Okay, because this is what that widens widens the hip bones. Okay, man's hip bones are taller. Okay, they're higher. They're taller than the women's hip bone. That's because of the cortex. Okay, testosterone gets changed into 17 alpha estradiol, thickens and also increase the volume of the bones, which that includes the heliums, the two heliums, every bone, the three types of bones of the hip bones. Okay, on each side of the body. Okay. So that's okay. So that's how those are the two ways. Also, the other way, if you're a pubic symphysis, if the man's man's pubic symphysis is completely solidified, the opening of his pubic might widen with 17 beta estradiol. The reason why is because from the inside, 17 beta estradiol will take away bone matter from the inside of the opening, and it will add bone matter from the outside, meaning that it will widen the pubic opening. Okay, those are the two reasons. Yesterday, I've searched because I want to know, because I couldn't find any photos of trans women in 1980s, but I didn't check that much. I only checked in the university, but like, I don't know, like I didn't have much access to if there were photos of trans women at that time. Okay, but apparently there was like a lot of photos of trans women, but they were like private, or they were books that I didn't have access, especially books from other countries like Japan, the German, even the United States. They did have books, but they weren't widespread. Okay, so I checked photos, and there's a lot of photos of trans women and trans men in the 19th century, and also I found out there were a lot of like passing trans women in France. Before 1970. Okay, that was before 1972. That sexologists, psychologists, and psychiatrists took hold, control the transsexuality. That's when they start blocking off like at least 95% of trans women. who wanted to have the feminizing hormone. Okay, so the book that I read is actually it's written by Maxime Foerster, Histoire des transsexuels en France. So that's about it. Okay, so, and also there's a thesis that I read, but I lost the thesis. I'll try to find it again. And it's written by, I think it's David Hsueh-Hao. It's a Chinese person, okay? And I think the title of the thesis that he wrote, it's called Sex Mattered, Our Body is Malleable, okay? So the body is malleable. And he specified that the humans, especially the Germans and the Chinese, took conscious that the body is malleable. Me personally, I thought a lot of the humans, I thought that some humans for about 15 million years ago believed that the body, who have seen the body was malleable sexually by, eating certain plants that has either testosterone or androgen-like molecules or feminine or estrogen-like molecules, since like they could tell. Okay, the reason why the Germans discovered, and some of the Anglo-Americans, Anglo-Saxon America also discovered, firstly estrogen, secondly testosterone and progesterone in 1929. That's when they found out about the sex hormone, and they found out that they could change this sometimes when they gave to some fetal animals or rodents. They could change the sex of the rodents, and also the adults, either human or other animals. They could change the secondary sex characteristics of the animal, and also the Chinese. I've seen what does complete castration of eunuchs in imperial China, what it does to the body. And also they found intersex in the 1930s with some of their soldiers. The Chinese communists and the Chinese nationalist armies have found intersex in their army. That's when they figured out they could change the modified or reform a male body to a female body, not including the vaginoplasty. Okay, so I'm not talking about vaginoplasty in this. The other two videos I'll be doing it. Hopefully, it'll be because I already collected in my mind the data. Okay, but I have to officialize them to place them in a much better format for a book. So I have to put them in the statistical format to show what I'm trying to say. Then one of the data is to see are the verbal or written statement of trans women in France, to see why they don't have access to, or if they're taking feminizing hormone or women's natural hormones. Okay. And the third data I'll be collecting is I'll be reading the several books by sexologists and biologists to see unconsciously or consciously if they're pushing boys and men to rape women with their hypothesis, especially their theories and principles on the human mind or the humankind.